Y'all know what's more useless than a celibate hooker? The Skyburner's Oath Catalyst. Yeah, it's that bad. Your boy XX420 smoke weed every day. Just kidding, it's bodies. We're going to be going over the Skyburner's Oath today, doing a review on it as well as the catalyst for it. Let's see what's up under the hood of this bad boy. So, we have our Skyburner's Oath. Weapon lobs large explosives seeking slugs when you're firing from the hip. When you're aiming down sights, the slugs travel fast and straight with higher damage and a lower rate of fire. We got some kind of crappy barrel perk, nobody cares. Extended mag, you get you a few extra shots. We got the weapon is full auto, does extra damage to Cabal and phalanx shields. That's pretty good actually. And we have our short action stock, which nobody cares about. We have our fully unlocked catalyst. This bumps up the range, but that is totally worthless, and I will explain why here in a bit. Now that we've gone over the perks, let's go over the scientific mumbo jumbo. So it's a 200 round per minute archetype. Impact is at 60. Range is at 82. That is with the catalyst. Without the catalyst, it's at 52, but this does not matter. Again, stability, we got 55 stability. This thing feels way more stable than it does for having 55 stability. I don't know why. It's pretty stable, at least in my opinion. Handling is decent, 68. Reload speed is absolutely abysmal at 37. It's really slow to reload. Aim assist is quite high. It's pretty sticky, I will give it that. Recoil direction is fantastic. It's straight up and down. There's no bouncing, no side to side. It's straight up and down, and the zoom is at 20. Here are the stats for this weapon. And before I get into any kind of review or give my personal opinions on the weapon, I want to show you some damage comparisons that I did with the Skyburners against one of my favorite scout rifles, the Polaris Lance in the energy slot. So I went to the beginning of the Leviathan raid and shot some Legionaries just to see how quick the two guns could kill one Legionary. So the numbers that I came up with when I was testing both of these weapons, the Polaris Lance, I tested the Polaris Lance headshot damage versus the hip-fire body shot damage of the Skyburner's Oath. And what I came out with on the Skyburner's Oath, it took 2.04 seconds to kill a stationary Legionary target. I tested the Polaris Lance with headshot damage. It took me 2.22 seconds. So there's about roughly 0.2 of a second faster for the Skyburner's Oath. And that's with body shot damage. And another thing I want to mention about that is on the Polaris Lance, that's hitting nothing but headshots. You're going to have a hard time finding a player that can go into a strike and hit every single headshot with a Polaris Lance without missing. And I'm not saying that you're not going to miss with the Skyburner's Oath, but it's definitely going to be a lot more consistent with you actually hitting shots with the tracking and everything, because the tracking is very aggressive on the Skyburner's Oath. So in my opinion, you'd be crazy not to take Skyburner's Oath into a really Cabal-oriented mission or strike. So like Arms Dealer, I definitely would take Skyburner's Oath into the Arms Dealer strike over Polaris Lance. Now, these tests are obviously on a target that can die in one magazine. So when you start getting the larger targets that take multiple reloads and whatnot to kill, the Polaris Lance is probably going to outdamage the Skyburner's Oath, even on a Cabal-oriented enemy, just because the Polaris Lance doesn't have to reload. To continue on, you're probably thinking, bodies, you dumb redneck. We want to know, is this thing any good against other kind of enemies besides Cabal? And the short answer is no. But I will show you some damage comparisons from some other types of enemies besides Cabal. I went down into a lost sector on Mars and shot at some Hive Knights. I did not do time to kill on this one. It's a lot harder to do time to kill on enemies that move around. I might miss a shot, or they're moving around and I might not be able to spam the trigger. I might have to line up a shot, and all that stuff affects time to kill. So I just went straight damage numbers for this. So I took the Skyburner's Oath and I zoomed in with ADS and got a headshot of 1,043. And then I took my Polaris Lance and performed a headshot with it and got 1,135. So you can see the damage difference there is pretty heavily in favor of the Polaris Lance. So against other types of enemies besides Cabal, the Polaris Lance, it shoots just as fast as the Skyburner's Oath in ADS form. but hits a good bit harder, and it's definitely going to be the better choice over Skyburner's Oath. And just for the hell of it, I threw in the Skyburner's Oath body shot damage, and I only got 470 on body shot damage, so there's no way the body shot damage with the hip fire can keep up with the player slant's headshot damage on average enemies. So from there, I would definitely not take the Skyburner's Oath into strikes or places where there's not going to be a lot of Cabal. But for Cabal, good deal. Use it. So we've talked about numbers on the Skyburner's Oath compared to the player slants, and now I want to talk about the actual catalyst and why it is worthless. So to start off, where do you get the catalyst? You can get it from the Leviathan raid, normal or prestige, from any boss, any place where you can get a drop. I think you can get it. I don't know if you can get it after you do the Coliseum part, where you get the flags. I don't know if it can drop from that chest, but I know for a fact that all 4 of the other encounters, it can drop. I got mine from normal on the baths, and you have to unlock it, you have to kill 1,000 Cabal enemies. It is quite the grind. I would suggest going to the Coliseum part and just farming those dudes over and over and over if you just want to get it out of the way quickly. But I would suggest not unlocking this catalyst unless you just really want to, for the completion's sake, or to make orbs, because that's all it's going to do for you. Because I have not seen anybody else talk about this. I've Googled it, researched it a little bit, and I have not found anybody that has mentioned this. The Skyburner's Oath Catalyst does not have damage fall off. You can shoot this thing from 3 miles away and hit the target in the head, and it's going to do full damage. And this goes for hipfire or ADS. So there is 0 range fall off. So therefore, there's really no point in having a range buff from the catalyst. So not really sure why Bungie did that. It's totally worthless. It's redundant. There's no damage fall off. And I just don't understand why they didn't give it like reload speed or some other type of thing. Second thing I want to talk about on this gun, and this pertains just to the gun, not necessarily the catalyst itself, is that this gun is broken in PvE. And this is another thing I've not seen anybody else talk about. The tracking on the hipfire, the tracking on the shells, will just stop working randomly. I could be using it, you'd be shooting, and then all of a sudden they just stop tracking the target. And this is really noticeable because when the tracking is working, like, you can see the shells literally like curve around walls and hit stuff and hit targets and whatever. Like, it's really noticeable. So when it stops working, the shells don't turn or curve or track or anything. And the only way that it fixes itself is either you have to die or you have to swap a weapon and then swap it back. And I'm not sure if Bungie knows about that, or if anybody, I don't think anybody really uses this gun that much, so people probably don't know, but the tracking will just like randomly stop working, and I'm not sure why. But overall, I would say that this gun is actually really good against Cabal, and I would highly recommend it in any kind of Cabal activity where there's going to be a ton of Cabal enemies, because I mean, just based on the damage comparisons and based on how easy it is to use compared to other things, because when the tracking is working and you're just like hip firing everything, it's a really easy gun to use, and you can just like spray targets like crazy. And also the shells have, it's basically like explosive rounds, so there's a bunch of targets grouped together. Like, you'll hit multiple things, and the damage explosions, you'll get little damage numbers from other targets and whatnot while you're shooting this thing. And the shooting the phalanx shields is another thing that's really useful in this thing, because those guys are a pain in the ass, especially when you have like a bunch of trash mobs like beating your ass and jumping on top of you, whatever, and then you're trying to kill that flanks guy and he's got a shield up and you can't get through it. But it's really easy with this gun because you can just you can aim down sights, and you can aim right at his face, or where his face would be behind the shield, and it'll just go right through that thing and just blow his ass away. So it's a really good gun for anything Cabal. And as long as you're not like expecting the catalyst to really do anything, it's a really good gun to use, and I would recommend it. I just wish Bungie would fix the tracking and maybe address the range issue. But other than that, I'm going to be out after that. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Please like and subscribe. We're going to keep doing these reviews on weapons and catalysts. Alright, I'm out.